Welcome, dear viewers, to a captivating journey through one of the most dramatic and inspiring stories in the Bible, the fiery furnace. This narrative, found in the book of Daniel, recounts the courageous stand of three young men who faced the ultimate test of faith. Their unwavering devotion to God in the face of death not only saved their lives, but also brought glory to the name of the Lord. As we proceed, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more insights and tales from the Bible. Join us as we explore the events leading up to their fiery ordeal, the miraculous deliverance that followed, and the enduring lessons this story offers to believers today. In the heart of the opulent city of Babylon, a testament to human ambition and architectural grandeur, King Nebuchadnezzar, a monarch of immense power and pride, commissioned the construction of a colossal statue. Towering over the cityscape, this imposing figure, crafted entirely of gleaming gold, stood as a symbol of Nebuchadnezzar's absolute authority and his insatiable thirst for recognition. The statue, a testament to the king's hubris, was not merely a work of art, it was an object of worship, a representation of the divine power that Nebuchadnezzar believed he possessed. He decreed that all his subjects, regardless of their nationality or religious beliefs, must bow down and worship this golden idol. To ensure compliance, he devised a cunning plan. A grand ceremony was organized, a spectacle of pomp and circumstance designed to impress and intimidate. The king's subjects, from the highest officials to the lowliest peasants, were summoned to the dedication of the statue. As the day of the ceremony arrived, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation and a palpable sense of unease. The people knew that this was not merely a celebration of art or architecture. It was a test of loyalty, a demand for absolute submission to the king's will. The climax of the ceremony came when a herald, his voice amplified by the vastness of the plain, announced the king's decree. At the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, all the nations and peoples of every language must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace. Daniel chapter 3, verse 4-6. The decree, a chilling ultimatum, sent shivers down the spines of those gathered. The stakes were high, the consequences dire. To refuse to worship the image meant certain death in a furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual, a punishment designed to instill terror and ensure obedience. The atmosphere crackled with tension as the people wrestled with their conscience, torn between loyalty to their God and fear for their lives. Amidst the vibrant mosaic of Nebuchadnezzar's sprawling empire, a beacon of unwavering faith shone brightly, defying the darkness of idolatry and oppression. This beacon emanated from 3 young Hebrew men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, whose Hebrew names, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, echoed with the divine promises of their heritage. Their journey to Babylon was one marked by sorrow and upheaval. As the Babylonian army laid siege to Jerusalem, the once impregnable city fell, its walls breached, its temple plundered, and its people subjected to the horrors of war. Among the captives were these 3 young men, torn from their families and homeland, their lives forever altered by the cruel whims of a conquering king. Yet even in the face of such adversity, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to be consumed by despair. Their faith, rooted in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, remained steadfast, an anchor in the turbulent seas of exile. Their unwavering trust in the divine sustained them through the long and arduous journey to Babylon, a journey fraught with uncertainty and loss. Upon their arrival in the foreign land, the 3 young men found themselves in a world that was both dazzling and disorienting. Babylon, with its towering ziggurats, opulent palaces, and bustling marketplaces, was a testament to human ingenuity and ambition. Yet beneath its glittering facade lay a society steeped in idolatry, moral decay, and spiritual darkness. The Babylonians worshipped a pantheon of gods, their lives dictated by elaborate rituals, sacrifices, and astrological omens. The king, Nebuchadnezzar, saw himself as a god among men, his every whim and desire to be obeyed without question. The Hebrew captives, with their monotheistic faith and strict adherence to the law of Moses, stood in stark contrast to the prevailing culture. Despite the challenges and temptations that surrounded them, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to compromise their faith. They clung to the teachings of their ancestors, observed the dietary laws of their religion, and remained devoted to the God who had delivered their forefathers from slavery in Egypt. Their unwavering faith and moral integrity did not go unnoticed. Nebuchadnezzar, recognizing their exceptional wisdom and skill, appointed them to positions of prominence within his government. They became advisors, administrators, and interpreters of dreams, their insights and counsel valued by the king and his court. Yet even as they ascended the ladder of success, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego remained true to their roots, their hearts firmly rooted in the God of Israel. They refused to be assimilated into Babylonian culture, choosing instead to maintain their distinct identity as God's chosen people. Their story is a testament to the enduring power of faith in the face of adversity. It is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, when all seems lost, God is still at work, shaping our destinies and calling us to live lives of courage, integrity, and unwavering devotion to Him. They adhered only to the dietary laws of their faith, observed the Sabbath, and maintained a vibrant prayer life. Their unwavering commitment to God served as a silent rebuke to the idolatry and moral decadence that permeated Babylonian society. The king's decree to worship the golden statue presented a monumental challenge to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Their refusal to bow down to the idol was not merely an act of defiance. It was a matter of conscience, a test of their loyalty to God. They knew that disobedience would have dire consequences, yet they were prepared to face those consequences rather than betray their faith. News of their defiance reached the king's ears, and he was incensed. How dare these Hebrew captives, whom he had shown favor and elevated to positions of power, refuse to obey his command? He summoned them to his presence, his voice filled with anger and indignation. Standing before the king, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego exuded a quiet confidence that belied the gravity of the situation. They knew that their lives hung in the balance, yet they did not waver in their resolve. Their response to the king was a masterpiece of courage, conviction, and unwavering faith. "O Nebuchadnezzar," they declared, "we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and He will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if He does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up." Their words, a bold declaration of faith in the face of death, sent shockwaves through the court. The king, accustomed to unquestioning obedience, was enraged by their defiance. He ordered the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than usual, a temperature so intense that it would consume anyone who dared to enter it. The strongest soldiers in the king's army were summoned to carry out his command. They bound Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego with ropes, their bodies clad in their official robes, and prepared to hurl them into the inferno. The air crackled with tension as the scene unfolded, a dramatic clash between human authority and divine sovereignty. The soldiers, their faces contorted with effort, heaved the 3 men toward the fiery furnace. The heat from the furnace was so intense that it singed their hair and scorched their skin. Yet Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego remained resolute, their eyes fixed on heaven, their hearts trusting in the God who held their lives in His hands. The furnace, fueled by the king's rage and stoked to an infernal intensity 7 times hotter than normal, roared with a ravenous hunger. As the bound figures of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were hurled into its fiery maw, the soldiers tasked with this grim duty recoiled from the blistering heat, their flesh seared and their lives extinguished by the flames that danced and leaped like malevolent spirits. From his throne, Nebuchadnezzar watched with a mixture of anticipation and sadistic satisfaction. He expected to see the 3 Hebrews consumed by the inferno, their bodies reduced to ashes, their defiance extinguished forever. Yet what he witnessed next defied all logic and reason. Peering into the furnace, the king saw not 3 but 4 figures walking amidst the flames. Unbound and unharmed, they moved with an air of serenity and grace that belied the raging inferno around them. The 4th figure, radiant and majestic, shone with a light that surpassed the glow of the furnace. his presence like the Son of God. Nebuchadnezzar, a man accustomed to power and control, was utterly bewildered. His voice trembled as he called out to the three Hebrews, summoning them forth from the fiery crucible. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego emerged from the furnace, their bodies untouched by the flames, their garments unscathed, not even a hair on their heads singed. The smell of smoke, which should have clung to them like a shroud, was conspicuously absent. A hush fell over the assembly as the king and his courtiers stared in disbelief. The three Hebrews, their faces radiant with the glow of divine protection, stood as living testaments to the power and faithfulness of their God. Nebuchadnezzar, humbled and awestruck, could no longer deny the undeniable truth that had been revealed before his eyes. The God of Israel, the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, was indeed the one true God, a God whose power surpassed all the gods of Babylon. In a remarkable act of humility, the king issued a decree praising the God of Israel and forbidding anyone from speaking a word against him. He acknowledged the sovereignty of the Hebrew God, confessing that there was no other God who could deliver like him. This miraculous deliverance from the fiery furnace was not merely a spectacular event, it was a profound demonstration of God's power, his faithfulness to those who trust in him, and his sovereignty over all creation. It was a turning point in the lives of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who were elevated to even higher positions within the Babylonian government. More importantly, it was a turning point for Nebuchadnezzar, who, through this experience, glimpsed the awesome power and majesty of the God of Israel. The king's transformation, though temporary, serves as a reminder that even the most hardened hearts can be softened by the touch of God's grace and the undeniable evidence of his power. In the wake of their miraculous deliverance from the fiery furnace, the lives of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego took a significant turn. Their unwavering faith, courage, and resilience in the face of death had not only spared them from harm, but had also brought about a profound change in the heart of King Nebuchadnezzar. The king, humbled by the undeniable display of God's power, issued a decree that resounded throughout the kingdom. He praised the God of Israel, acknowledging him as the one true God, and forbade anyone from speaking against him. Nebuchadnezzar's declaration was a testament to the transformative power of faith and the undeniable reality of divine intervention. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, now celebrated as heroes of faith, were not only restored to their former positions, but were elevated to even higher ranks within the Babylonian government. Their wisdom, integrity, and unwavering commitment to God had earned them the trust and respect of the king, who now recognized the value of their counsel and leadership. They continued to serve in the royal court, using their influence to promote justice, uphold righteousness, and advocate for the well-being of their fellow exiles. Their unwavering faith and moral integrity shone brightly in a culture steeped in idolatry and corruption, serving as a beacon of hope and a reminder of the one true God. The Bible does not provide many details about the specific events of their later lives, but it is clear that they remained faithful to God and continued to serve him in their respective roles. Their story is a testament to the enduring power of faith and the importance of living a life of integrity, even in the face of adversity. The legacy of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego extends far beyond the walls of Babylon. Their story has inspired countless generations of believers to stand firm in their faith, to resist the pressures of conformity, and to trust in God's protection and provision. In times of persecution and adversity, the example of these three young men reminds us that our ultimate allegiance is to God, and that his power to deliver is limitless. Their story challenges us to examine our own lives, to confront our own compromises, and to live with the same courage and conviction that they displayed. As we reflect on the lives of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, may we be inspired to live lives of unwavering faith, uncompromising integrity, and steadfast devotion to the God who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine. Amen. You can also type Amen in the comment section. The story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, emerging unscathed from the fiery furnace, has resonated through the corridors of history, leaving an indelible mark on the Christian faith and inspiring countless generations of believers to stand firm in their convictions. This narrative, a testament to the unwavering faith of three young men and the miraculous power of God, continues to hold profound significance for Christians today. Throughout history, the story of the fiery furnace has served as a source of hope and encouragement for those facing persecution and adversity. In times of religious oppression, when believers were called to renounce their faith or face dire consequences, the example of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood as a beacon of courage and resilience. Their unwavering trust in God's protection, even in the face of death, emboldened countless others to stand firm in their beliefs, even at great personal cost. The story also served as a powerful apologetic tool, demonstrating the superiority of the God of Israel over the false gods of the surrounding nations. The miraculous deliverance of the three men from the fiery furnace was seen as a divine vindication of their faith, a testament to the power and sovereignty of the one true God. In the early centuries of Christianity, the story of the fiery furnace was often depicted in art and literature, serving as a visual reminder of God's protection and faithfulness. It became a popular theme in hymns and liturgical texts, inspiring believers to sing praises to the God who delivers his people from the flames of adversity. The story's relevance continues to resonate in the modern era. In a world where Christians face increasing pressure to conform to secular values and to compromise their beliefs, the example of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego challenges us to stand firm in our faith, even when it is unpopular or inconvenient. Their unwavering commitment to God, even under threat of death, is a powerful reminder that our ultimate allegiance is to Him and that His approval is more valuable than any earthly reward or recognition. The story of the fiery furnace also speaks to the power of prayer and the importance of trusting in God's protection. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, knowing that they faced certain death, did not despair or lose hope. They prayed to God, trusting that He would deliver them, even if it meant sacrificing their lives. Their faith was rewarded with a miraculous rescue, a testament to the power of prayer and the faithfulness of God. In our own lives, we may face fiery trials and tribulations that test our faith and challenge our resolve. The story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles. God is with us, and He is able to deliver us from any fiery furnace that we may encounter. Whether it is persecution for our faith, illness, financial hardship, or relational conflict, we can draw strength and encouragement from the example of these three young men. We can trust in God's power to protect us, His wisdom to guide us, and His love to sustain us through any trial. In the words of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, if we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and He will deliver us from your Majesty's hand. But even if He does not, we want you to know, Your Majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Their words, a timeless declaration of faith and courage, challenge us to examine our own priorities and to make a conscious choice to serve God above all else. The story of the fiery furnace offers several important lessons for believers today, and some of them are as follows. Firstly, the story talks about the importance of faithfulness. The fiery furnace became a crucible of faith for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, refining their resolve and revealing the extraordinary strength that comes from unwavering devotion to God. Their story stands as a timeless testament to the power of faithfulness, inspiring generations of believers to stand firm in their convictions, even when faced with the most daunting challenges. In the face of Nebuchadnezzar's decree, the three Hebrews were presented with a stark choice: bow down to the golden idol and live, or refuse and face a gruesome death. Their decision was not a matter of mere stubbornness or defiance, but a profound act of faith rooted in their unwavering belief in the one true God. They understood that bowing to the idol would be a betrayal of their deepest convictions, a denial of the God who had delivered their ancestors from slavery and guided them through countless trials. Their faith was not a matter of convenience or social conformity, but a core part of their identity, a guiding light that illuminated their path even in the darkest of times. Their refusal to compromise, even under the threat of death, is a powerful reminder that true faithfulness is not conditional on circumstances or outcomes. It is a steadfast commitment to God's truth, a willingness to obey His commands, and a trust in his sovereignty, even when the path ahead seems uncertain or fraught with danger. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's unwavering faith were not blind obedience. It was a well-reasoned and deeply held conviction. They knew that their God was capable of delivering them from the fiery furnace. But even if he chose not to, they were prepared to face death rather than betray their faith. Their response to the king, a bold declaration of trust in God's power and sovereignty, echoed through the ages. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Their words, a testament to their unwavering faith and courage, stand as a challenge to believers in every generation. They remind us that our faith is not just a set of beliefs or rituals. It is a way of life, a commitment to follow God's commands, even when it is difficult or unpopular. The story of the fiery furnace also speaks to the power of community and the importance of standing together in faith. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego faced the fiery ordeal together, their unity a source of strength and encouragement. They did not waver or falter, but stood together in solidarity, their shared faith a shield against the flames of persecution. In our own lives, we too are called to stand firm in our faith, even when faced with adversity or persecution. We are called to hold fast to our convictions, to resist the pressures of conformity, and to live lives that are pleasing to God. We are called to be a light in the darkness, a beacon of hope in a world that is often filled with despair. The story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego reminds us that faithfulness is not always easy, but it is always worth it. The rewards of faithfulness may not be immediate or tangible, but they are eternal and enduring. As we choose to follow God's path, even when it is difficult, we can be assured that he will be with us, guiding us, protecting us, and ultimately leading us to victory. The second lesson is the power of God's protection. The miraculous deliverance of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from the blazing furnace is a breathtaking testament to the boundless power and unwavering faithfulness of God. This awe-inspiring event, forever etched in the annals of biblical history, speaks volumes about the divine protection afforded to those who place their trust in him, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. As the three young men were cast into the inferno, bound and helpless, the spectators could only anticipate their swift and gruesome demise. The flames, intensified by the king's rage, roared with a fury that seemed capable of consuming anything in its path. Yet as the smoke cleared, a scene of utter astonishment unfolded. Instead of witnessing the charred remains of the three Hebrews, the king and his court beheld a sight that defied all expectations. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not only alive but also walking freely within the flames, their bodies untouched, their clothes unscathed. The fire, which had mercilessly devoured the soldiers who had thrown them in, seemed powerless to harm them. This miraculous preservation defied all natural laws and human understanding. It was a divine intervention, a direct manifestation of God's protective power, shielding his faithful servants from the consuming flames. The presence of a fourth figure, described as being like a son of the gods, further emphasized the supernatural nature of this deliverance. The king, witnessing this extraordinary display of divine power, was filled with awe and fear. He realized that he had underestimated the God of Israel, a God whose authority transcended the boundaries of his earthly kingdom. Nebuchadnezzar's subsequent declaration, praising the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and forbidding anyone from speaking against him, was a testament to the undeniable reality of God's sovereignty and his unwavering protection of his people. This message of hope and encouragement resonates with believers throughout history. In times of persecution, when Christians have faced the threat of death for their faith, the story of the fiery furnace has served as a source of inspiration and strength. It reminds us that even in the face of the most daunting challenges, we can trust in God's protection and rely on his faithfulness. The fiery furnace is a metaphor for the trials and tribulations that we may face in our own lives. Whether it is illness, financial hardship, relational conflict, or spiritual attack, we can be assured that God is with us, shielding us from harm and guiding us through the flames. Thirdly, the sovereignty of God. Nebuchadnezzar's dramatic change of heart, his acknowledgement of the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego as the supreme ruler of heaven and earth, is a powerful testament to the unmatched sovereignty of God. This pivotal moment in the narrative not only reveals the king's humbling recognition of a power far greater than his own, but also serves as a resounding affirmation of God's ultimate authority over all creation. In the ancient world, where the worship of multiple deities was commonplace, Nebuchadnezzar's declaration was a radical departure from the prevailing religious landscape. His acknowledgement of the God of Israel as the one true God, the source of all power and authority, challenged the very foundations of Babylonian society and its pantheon of gods. This declaration was not merely a political maneuver or a strategic concession. It was a profound spiritual awakening, a recognition of the undeniable truth that had been revealed through the miraculous deliverance of the three Hebrews. Nebuchadnezzar, a proud and arrogant king, had been humbled by the overwhelming evidence of God's power and sovereignty. The king's decree praising the God of Israel and forbidding anyone from speaking against him reverberated throughout the kingdom, sending shockwaves through the religious and political establishment. It was a proclamation that challenged the very fabric of Babylonian society, a society that had long held its gods and traditions as inviolable. Nebuchadnezzar's recognition of God's supremacy was not merely a personal revelation, it was a public acknowledgement of a universal truth. The God of Israel, the God who had delivered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from the fiery furnace, was not just a tribal deity or a regional power. He was the sovereign ruler of the universe, the one true God who held the destinies of nations in his hands. This acknowledgement of God's sovereignty has profound implications for our understanding of faith and our place in the world. It reminds us that we are not autonomous beings, free to chart our own course without regard for a higher power. We are creatures created by God and accountable to Him. Our lives are not our own. They are a gift from God, to be lived in accordance with His will and for His glory. The story of Nebuchadnezzar's humbling before the God of Israel challenges us to examine our own hearts and motives. Are we living in submission to God's authority, or are we trying to build our own kingdoms based on our own wisdom and strength? Are we seeking His will and His glory in all that we do, or are we pursuing our own selfish ambitions? The fiery furnace serves as a powerful reminder that God's will ultimately prevails over all. No matter how powerful or influential we may become, no matter how sophisticated our technology or advanced our civilization, we are still subject to God's sovereign rule. His power is unmatched, His wisdom unfathomable, and His love unfailing. Lastly, the witness of faith. The unwavering faith and resolute courage of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace did more than save their lives. It ignited a spark of recognition in the heart of a pagan king and set ablaze a powerful witness that would reverberate throughout the nation of Babylon. Their stand for truth, their refusal to compromise their beliefs, and their miraculous deliverance became a testament to the supremacy of the God of Israel, forever altering the course of history. In a culture steeped in idolatry and polytheism, where the worship of false gods was ingrained in every aspect of life, the bold defiance of these three young Hebrews was a radical act of countercultural witness. They stood as living examples of unwavering faith, demonstrating that there was a God whose power transcended the idols of Babylon, a God who deserved their allegiance and devotion. Their refusal to bow down to Nebuchadnezzar's golden statue was not a mere act of rebellion. It was a declaration of their unwavering loyalty to the one true God. Their words, echoing through the vast plain of Dura, were a powerful rebuke to the king's arrogance and a bold proclamation of their faith. This audacious declaration, spoken with conviction and courage, challenged the prevailing worldview and shook the very foundations of Babylonian society. It was a moment of truth, a confrontation between two opposing worldviews, and the outcome would have far-reaching implications. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego emerged from the fiery furnace unscathed, their miraculous deliverance served as a powerful validation of their faith. It was a sign and wonder that could not be ignored, a divine spectacle that defied explanation and shattered the illusions of the Babylonian gods. The impact of this witness extended far beyond the royal court. The news of the three Hebrews' miraculous deliverance spread like wildfire throughout the kingdom, igniting a spark of curiosity and awe in the hearts of the people. Many who had previously dismissed the God of Israel as a mere tribal deity now began to question their own beliefs and to seek a deeper understanding of this powerful and compassionate God. The story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego became a catalyst for spiritual awakening, a turning point in the history of God's redemptive plan. It demonstrated the power of faith to overcome adversity, the importance of standing firm in one's convictions, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. Their witness continues to inspire and challenge believers today. It calls us to examine our own lives, to confront our compromises and fears, and to live with the same boldness and conviction that they displayed. It reminds us that our faith is not just a private matter, but a public testimony, a witness to the world of the power and love of God. May the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego ignite a fire of faith within us, a passion to live lives that are pleasing to God, and a courage to stand for truth, even in the face of adversity. May their example inspire us to be bold witnesses for Christ, proclaiming His love and grace to a world that desperately needs to hear the good news of salvation. Dear viewers, as we reflect on this incredible story, I invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Have you ever faced a situation where your faith was tested? How did you respond? How has God's faithfulness been evident in your life? Let us encourage one another to stand firm in our faith, to trust in God's protection, and to never compromise our beliefs, even in the face of adversity. Remember, God is always with us, and He is able to deliver us from any fiery trial. May God bless you and keep you strong in your faith. Until next time, may His peace and joy be with you all.